It's the 30th of November. My stars, time is cooking. I mean, we are almost to the month of December, the fiscal month of December. The end of the year, 2024, is running to a close. Wow. And we've literally taken the last hour and a half talking about a topic which is in the midst of all kinds of different circumstances. And how do you know when to share your faith? And are you qualified to share your faith? And one of the truths that we expressed this morning was from 1 John chapter 2, verse 12 through 14, which details for us the three stages of growth. The three stages of growth are little children who, number one, know they've been forgiven. That's important for the parent to be able to do it. I had the privilege of being able to answer a question here in the dining room at Faith Works on the whiteboard the other night about the Aaronic blessing. You know, when children know that they're forgiven, then they can live. They don't have to live in guilt. They don't have to live with all the extra stuff that goes along with, did I disappoint my parents? Did I fall short in their eyes? When they know that they've been forgiven. And we talked about what that was looking like. Little children, as verse 14 says, have known the Father from the beginning. So the children have two qualities and characteristics. They have now come to know the Father. And that word for knowing the Father, knowing him who's been from the beginning, is a picture of experience. Not this, experience, walking it out. So then you have young men. Young men are individuals who have overcome the wicked one, not just I'm striving, I'm trying, but I keep on falling. No, you've overcome the wicked one, and you're continuing to overcome the wicked one with decisions every day. And how do they overcome the wicked one? Because they're abiding in the word. That's what 1 John chapter 2, verse 13 and 14 tell us. Then thank you, Mariah. And then you have the fathers who've known him, which is from the beginning. It's the cycle of life. It's not the Lion King. It's the cycles of life. And if me as a potential teacher in the eyes of some, if I am a teacher, then I will take a person where they're at in their journey, and I can go ahead and start leading them forward. And I can fill in any of the gaps that are missing. But what we oftentimes do is we just do Bible studies. You know what? Let's read such and such book. Let's do this book. Let's study the book of Revelation. Let's study the book of Ezekiel. And I'm going, oy vey. No wonder we're intellectual and we really don't know him who's from the beginning. So we spent time talking about 1 John chapter 2, going through all the way through verse 14. We spend time in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. We spend time in Leviticus chapter 19, specifically verses 23 and 24. We talked about Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 19 and 20. And we connected a bunch of pieces of the puzzle so that we could actually have something to be able to propel us forward in our journey. And this morning, what I want to do is I want to take you back to something to propel your journey. And because of time, because of me just eating up our time in a positive way with the topic that we had at hand this morning, I'll be very brief with you here because I've got to do a teaching in Pakistan this morning. But I want to take you to Genesis chapter 25. And I think, Hunter, I was gonna go a different direction this morning with answering your question more in detail from last night. I'll touch on it, but maybe we'll spend some time on the phone and we'll go over that in great detail. But for this morning, I want to really connect with you something to pierce your heart. Because as I was going back through, I went to bed at 12:30. I woke up at 3:30 this morning. I got 2 hours, 2 sleep cycles of sleep. I felt refreshed. I woke up. I was ready to go. I was reviewing my entire week, following the pattern of Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. And I was reviewing all of the good things that Yahweh had done this week in my life, giving him praise and honor for that, because he's done so much. And I have so much to be thankful for. So as I was doing it, he says to me, this is my mind talking to me. He's saying to me in my mind, he's going, Alan, have you learned how to live out the life of Esau with the life of Jacob? Have you done that? And do you understand? This is the question that is going through my mind. Alan, do you understand what was really going on with Esau and why Jacob treated Esau the way that he did? Let me include you in the thoughts that I was experiencing this morning. And this is after my prayer time for each of you, and after my writing time for each of you, and then praying for you individually. So these are the thoughts that came after praying for a group of people, and the Lord is then speaking to me with this. Okay, so we're going to pick up here in chapter 25, verse 27. It says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man. Now in Hebrew, this is the phrase ish tam. So we'd spell it I-S-H for your notes, T-A-M, ish tam. So what he is that he's a plain man. But this isn't a plain man like he's just a nothing, because this is the root word of tamim. And tamim means to be mature and perfect. So he was a man who spent time in the tents, and he was studying the Torah. So one of the challenges that Yahweh is putting on me is he's putting on me, do I have the fierceness, the life drive of an Esau, and do I have the passion and the will and the desire for the word of God and holiness like Jacob, who later on in scriptures are going to be called the man of truth. And you're going to say, well, he sure didn't act like a man of truth in this story. Just hold on to your hats, and you'll find out it's probably not as deceptive as we tend to think that's in this story. So here he's asking me a question. Esau's a cunning hunter, a man of the field. Jacob was an Ish Tam, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And last night we talked about Esau being a man of the field. We talked about Isaac, his father, being a man of the field, but the difference was Isaac being in the field was a man who is devoted to meditation, to prayer, to interceding, to preparing himself for reconciling, restoring, and doing all the wonderful things in the field. He was the man's man like Esau, but he was the spiritual man in the field. The field is the world, as Yeshua said in Matthew chapter 13. When he's defining for the disciples the parable of the wheat and the tares. And he's teaching about the sower and the seed. Those were two parables that were back to back. So now in this story, we've got this Isaac's loving Esau, and you have to ask yourself the question why. And I want to reaffirm to you the definition of compassion. And this is very, very important to know. Rechem, the word for womb, is the word for compassion. What a womb does is a womb takes a seed, provides a nourishing environment, safe, protected, what it needs to grow and to mature, to develop to where it can be birthed out. That's why the word for womb and the word for compassion are the same word, because that's what a womb is inside of a mother. It's a place of seeing the best in someone and promoting an environment to cause them to grow to where they can mature. That's the key. You see the potential, but then you create the environment. And then they are nurtured in that environment and they grow and they mature to become what they're being called to be. So Jacob loving Esau is because he sees the potential. Esau's a scallywag. Esau's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Esau's a conniver, a manipulator. He's good with his words. He can twist it. He can turn it. Now, be careful right now. Don't be thinking of that person. You need to be thinking of yourself. You know, I wish old so-and-so was listening to this. Stop. This isn't about anybody else. This is about the Esau inside of me. We talked about last night the battle between the flesh and the spirit, Esau, Jacob. Flesh, spirit, battle. We talked about Isaac and Ishmael last night, Jacob and Esau. And when you see the patterns repeating, you're going to go, wow, that's my life to a T. And when I start to wake up and smell the coffee and put Folgers in my cup, then all of a sudden things start happening. And I go, maybe I should change me and trust that person into the hands of God so that he can do what he needs to do with them. Because frankly, I don't have enough tools in my tool bag to make it happen. So he goes on and says, Isaac loves Esau. I think I said Jacob loves Esau earlier. Isaac loves Esau because he sees the potential. He sees him being a man of the field, just like Isaac was, but Esau is only taking a portion of Isaac's life, not all of it. And this is why Isaac is going to redig the wells of Abraham. He's not going out to blaze a new trail. He's humbling himself and he's returning to his father, as Malachi chapter 4, verses 4 through 6 says. Then in the last days, people will remember Moses and he will turn the hearts of the children back to the fathers. That's what Isaac's doing by redigging the wells. He's returning to the work that Abraham did because he knows that if he's Abraham's seed, he'll do as Abraham did. So he doesn't go out and just say, I'm going to do it all on my own. He humbles himself and says, my dad's laid the foundation. I need to get the water flowing from him. He's the one who received the promise. I'm just the beneficiary and the recipient of it. So Rebekah loves Jacob. Why does Rebekah love Jacob? Because Rebekah is a woman of the tent. Rebekah is a woman of the tent, just like Sarah was. She's a woman of the word. She's a woman that's studious in the word. And that's what Jacob was. But as I testified last night, Jacob is one bad to the bone dude. He is not some just skinny winny dude who has to run around the shower just to get wet. This dude is a muscle-bound dude. But the reason why it says he's a plain man is because it's emphasizing that he goes through stages of growth. No hair on his body, speaks of being like a baby. My dad, fun story, 30 seconds. My dad, one day we were in a locker room getting changed, and I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, why doesn't your chest have any hair? I was just like a boy, like 9. But my brother Rick was like a hairy bear. And my dad says he was wise beyond his years. This is probably when he was, I don't know, late 30s. He says, well, the grass don't grow where there's a lot of traffic. Okay, that's too much fun. You'll get it later, okay? In other words, your mama's hands are loving all over me. So grass don't grow where there's lots of traffic. Okay, I figured that out later on in life. I just kind of went, oh, okay. It's too much fun. Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to go there. But Rebecca loved Jacob. He was an Ishtam. He was a smooth man who grew from being a little child to a young man to a father. And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Now, here's where the story becomes interesting, and this is what I want to share with you, because this is something that God has been working with me for like 40 years. No exaggeration on this. This isn't a fresh new insight. This is what God's been working in me for 40 plus years. Now, he's making pottage. This is called lentil soup. Lentil soup is what you would prepare if somebody died. It's a round bean. It's a round to show the cycles of life. And anytime this soup was made, this pottage, this lentil soup was made, it was the mourner's soup because Abraham has just died. Now, notice what ends up happening. Jacob is making lentil soup because his father has died. Esau has just come in from the field and he's very, very faint. He's exhausted from being out in the field, not from meditating in the field, from doing what he's doing in the field. So then Esau said to Jacob, feed me. Now, if you go back and you take a look at this word in Hebrew, feed me, that's not what the word says. It's not like what Joseph did for me yesterday morning. Joseph from the kitchen said, can I make you some eggs? And I said, sure, that'd be great. And so he presented eggs in front of me and I gobbled them down. Yum, 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 yum. That's feeding me. That's not what this word is. This word means open up my mouth and pour it down my throat. Pour it into me. What? It's like a person who you think that they haven't eaten in years. Wow, 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 wow. I'm not tasting it. I'm just swallowing it, just swallowing it, just swallowing it. And as Suzanne taught me 6 years ago, Alan, chew your food 20 times. It'll help digest it. It'll work better in your body. But this is pour it into my mouth. That's his request. And Esau said to Jacob, pour it into me, I pray thee, with that same red. Do you notice what he says? He says that same red. He doesn't even call it lentil soup. He calls it red. Red is the word Adom, which comes from the word Adam, which comes from the word Dam. Dam is the word for blood. Blood is red when it's oxygenated. Adam came from the earth, Adamah. The word for earth is Adamah. Adam came from Adamah, and he had blood coursing through his veins, Dam. But this is Adom. Feed me with that red. So the very word that he says, feed me with the red, why doesn't he just say, can I have some of that lentil soup? Why does he call it red? And if I go back and I find out why Esau, Edom, is called red, because he came out red and hairy, like a full-grown man. No capacity to change his mind. No capacity to think beyond what's instinctive. No capacity to grow through levels of growth. He's red and hairy, full-grown, can't teach him anything. And so he says, give me some of this. He says, I'm faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. See the word Edom, red, Adom, Adam, Dam, Adamah, all the same word, vowelized differently. Why all the connections to these? And why doesn't he say, feed me some, give me a spoon and let me enjoy the lentil soup with you as we mourn daddy's death? Why is he saying just pour it down? Because when you pour it into somebody's mouth, like the college students who are chugging down beer or tequila or shots or whatever, you don't even take the time to enjoy and to savor the moment. And when you don't enjoy it, you don't even know what it tastes like. I don't want to identify with what that meal's about. I don't want to be part of the mourning process. Just feed me. So notice what Jacob does. Notice what Jacob does, because this is going to be really important for my life to know how I'm supposed to take the power and the force of this man who is red, Edom, who has this passion for just self-preservation, and to balance it out perfectly with the spiritual man who dwells in the tent. He says, and Jacob said to me, sell me this day your birthright. Esau is having a faith crisis. That's what's going on. Sell me your birthright? How much is a birthright worth? Well, in this story, it's worth a bowl of lentil soup. Is that all birthright is worth? Is lentil soup? The mourning of the death of our father? No, 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 no. The birthright has to do with the firstborn child has incredible responsibilities, and the firstborn child is responsible for serving in the Beit Mikdash, in the temple. That's his responsibility. And one thing we know for sure is that Esau doesn't want that at all. So Jacob says, sell me your birthright, because I want that calling. I know I'm second born, but there's a prophecy that says the older is going to serve the younger. I want that. I'll do whatever it takes to get that process. I want that spiritual responsibility. And so he says, sell it to me. And so notice what Esau says, and this is the point that I want to get to. Behold, I'm at the point to die. What profit shall this birthright do to me? In other words, he says, so listen very carefully with your heart open in the deepest, deepest, deepest way ever. What's he saying? He's saying, I'm about to die. There's nothing after this. There's absolutely nothing after this life. So I'm just going to live my life the way that I want to. There's nothing after this life. So I'm about to die. So since I'm about to die, then, hey, Moses, give me 15 minutes. Just give me 15 more minutes. And I'll be with you. Okay? So now you've got this concept, and he says, I'm about to die. What good is that? In other words, what he's saying is the rights of the firstborn, they mean nothing to me. But the rights of the firstborn aren't about this life. The rights of the firstborn about the life to come. The resurrection. That's what it's all about. It's about the responsibility of serving in the Beit Mikdash. It's about being the leader within the family. It's about taking the truths and the principles that were given through Abraham and passing them on down to the next generation. That's what he's calling for. That's what he's begging. That's what Jacob is begging for. I want that. I want the rights of the firstborn, because I know what the firstborn gets in the life to come. But Esau says, forget it. I don't need that stuff. I'm fixing to die. So notice what Jacob does. We say that Jacob's deceitful, but watch what Jacob does. So Jacob says to him, swear to me this day. And he swore to him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. Okay, that's it. It's done. It's signed, sealed, and delivered, and that's the end of the story. Now, there's much to be said here, which we won't have time. But I want you to notice what Jacob did. Jacob fed him bread. Why did he feed him bread? Why didn't he just pour the lentils down his throat? Why didn't he do that? Listen very carefully with your heart open in the deepest way. If you go to a nice restaurant and you're really hungry, what's the first thing they bring you? Bread. Why do they bring you bread? Because what they want to do is they want to start, you're so hungry that if you just ate your main meal, you would devour it. But if you eat a little bit of bread, that satiates your hunger. Now you've got something to tide you over so that when you're eating the lentils, when you're eating that red, when you're eating that pottage, that at one point, because you're so consumed with your own life, I'm so faint, I'm going to die. I can't go to the cabinet and open up I can't go to the fridge and open it. I can't do this. I can't pull out a pan and heat this. I just need to eat. He says, let me give you some bread because you're not thinking straight, buddy. He gives him bread and lentils. Jacob's not just conniving him. I got him. I want my brother to understand that he's making a choice at the solical level with clear thinking what he's going to do. You know, the only thing that he needed to do was he needed to come back and say, you know what? I made a really bad choice. Can I buy the birthright back? And he'd say, well, instead of, yeah, you can buy it back, but now it's going to cost you 5,000 rubles. And you'll say, but you sold it to me for a bowl of soup. Yeah. But its value is much greater, and you need to pay for the value of it. Now, why am I sharing you this perspective in regards to him giving bread and then the lentils? And he goes on to say, and he did eat and he drank and he rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. He despised it. After even thinking clearly, not being faint, he literally despised his birthright. He didn't want the responsibility. So let me finish up with Matthew chapter 16. And let me share with you the most powerful verses in regards to Yeshua and your birthright as firstborn children of the Most High. In chapter 16, many of you know this passage by heart. And so in Matthew chapter 16, verse 24 through 27, Yeshua says, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever will save his life shall lose it, and whoever will lose his life, he shall find it. But losing it for my sake, he will find it. What does it profit a man if he should gain the whole world, if he should gain the whole field, if he could master the field, yet lose his own soul? What does it profit a man if he gains it all? Loses. What can a man give in exchange for his soul? What, a bowl of red? A bowl of lentil soup? Something that just fills my belly, as Galatians chapter 3 addresses the individuals whose God is their belly? Sorry, Philippians chapter 3. So what can I give in exchange? Well, frankly, to be quite honest with you, we give a lot of things in exchange for it, don't we? We, speaking of me, myself, and I. Yeah. So he goes on to say, the Son of Man one day is going to come again in the glory of his Father with his angels, and he's going to reward every man according to his works. It's going to come down to this. One day I'm going to stand before the Lord, and he's given me the rights to be the firstborn child, to be a firstborn son. And he's going to say with me, I gave you a tremendous responsibility as the seed of Abraham to be able to teach and to instruct and to encourage and to nurture and to love and to kick people in the hiney when they need it and to do whatever needed to be done in order to be able to spur them on to where they came up with their mind to make up the decision to follow me. What'd you do? Well, I was out in the field. I was out in the field. Because were you out in the field meditating? Were you out in the field just hunting? And that's one of the reasons why whenever Isaac sends Esau out to the field to go hunting, he didn't need to go out into the field to go hunting. They had all kinds of livestock. All he had to do is say, go kill go kill a bull for me. Go kill a ram for me. Go kill that. There's a reason why he sent him out to the field. That I'll let you think about. When I start to really think about this story for me, and I'm telling you, this is me, and hopefully it'll be you, is, am I taking the passion of an Esau and submitting it underneath the authority of a Jacob? So it's producing this vibrant life, which is sprouting up everywhere. And it's going to bring forth fruit because I'm dying to myself and living to him. Yep, I've been out in the field and I've been wasting my time with a lot of stuff. And I am faint, but the spiritual brother will feed you bread first. Bread. Huh. I wonder what's up about bread in Scripture. Well, maybe Yeshua is the bread that comes down from heaven, John chapter 6. Maybe the manna is what comes down from heaven, Exodus chapter 16. Maybe it's Yeshua's prayer in Matthew chapter 6, give us this day our daily bread. Maybe there's something more to bread. Jacob gave him bread. Jacob wouldn't let his brother make a decision of, yeah, let me pour it down your throat there, buddy. Jacob made sure that Esau knew the decision he was making, and he let him make his decision. He said, sell me your birthright. What's it to you? Well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to die anyway. There's nothing after this life. That's our problem. We're so busy living in the field that we forget how to live in the field as a man of the tent, because the tent is in the field. And as we talked about last night, the trees are in the field and they are standing up and rising up. Some things to consider on this beautiful Shabbat. And of course, there's so much more to consider. So Shabbat Shalom. Let me stop the recording and take a few minutes to answer any questions that anybody might have or observations.